Hi, Melissa. How are you doing? I'd like to talk about your magazine, and I want to start with the front cover, and in that we'll start in the masthead area. So the masthead area. So I was, this masthead's a really good example of pre-planning, and I mentioned something earlier. I don't remember what week about this alignment right here, and having that, having your decision to um, pull the word web up. And I remember thinking, what is the reasoning for that? Is there a reasoning for that? And one of the things that I see in looking back, as I see in that kind of foresight, I think is really it's a really good idea to take your masthead and to place it and see how it works. Because in this case, I'm sorry to say, I don't think it is working as effectively as it could. And let me explain why. Um, by offsetting this word web, you're opening up this big area of white space. And that only has to be because this is the masthead. So that's one thing that I was thinking about earlier on. And now you can see why. I think there's would have been a lot of solutions here. I think the obvious solution would have been pulling the word learning up. I'm sorry, pulling the word web down and then moving this date information over. And it was your design and your decision. But I'm wondering if you can see what I'm seeing. I hope you can see that. A little bit of weird alignment and open spatial areas. Okay. So, and then you've got nothing in the background. You've got this gradient in the background. Excuse me. So, I think that you've got the image of the hands breaking the rope, and then you've got a little bit of typography above it, and then you've got a lot of typography below it. And let me explain what I'm seeing. Okay, you have a definite separation of a page caused by this right here, and the fact that there's typography above it and typography below it. So what does that mean? Essentially, the first thing people see is groups. So by placing this separating these two areas, you're making two groups. This is one group above the hands, and this is one group below the hands. So being that they're groups, you automatically make these assumptions that these are connected in some way. And in this case, they're not. You've got top 10 skills. Top 10 skills of what? You've got fail-proof gap analysis. Okay, what about it? And then you have, this is done really well, revamp multiple choice questions plus. And you're telling us exactly what, that's a great headline, and you've done nice because you're working with size and other typefaces to create emphasis. And this is great. I love it. I love it. I love that you're doing that. You did the same thing over here at 5 trends. And you're starting to do the same thing over here at 10 skills. But you see what I'm saying? This seems separate than this, okay? So now what I'm seeing is this. In this cover, I'm seeing fail-proof gap analysis is definitely the featured cover story, the way that you have this composed, okay? But we go down and we see, okay, the cover story is, yes, fail-proof gap analysis. But then we go down to your spread, and that's not the cover story. So the reason I say that is because typically a cover story is designed differently than a story. A feature story is typically treated a little bit differently typographically. There's more area for white space. There's more banner area, simply meaning the top of the page. So that I just thought that was unusual. So you don't have your cover page, okay? Although this is designed like a cover page. So I'm just going to treat it like it is. So let's go back. Now, from here down, okay, from here, this area right here, where is your hierarchy? Okay, definitely it starts with Mac or PC because it's the biggest thing, all right? Then where does it go? There's no way to know because you've got emphasis here, 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 and here. So by creating emphasis on each, you're creating emphasis on none. Does that make sense? So what I would do is I would just, don't try, I just wanted to mention this before, I wanted to remember to mention this, don't try to create hierarchy using color. And I think that was one of the biggest things in your whole presentation is trying, well, at least the cover page and the contents pages, you're trying to create hierarchy using color. There's this old saying, you'll hear it, and it's true. If it doesn't work in black and white, it's not going to work in color. So don't try to add color where color isn't, I guess is what I'm saying. I hope that makes sense. If not, let me know. So then we have, okay, so then we have, so the thing is that we don't have any real visual connection between what would be the cover story, okay, these two hands breaking, and then the blue background, and then the start of the story. And that's why it's important to design a cover story or a feature cover story. Okay, so as far as the typography goes, I think it's handled very well here. You don't need, this is handled great. You've done a wonderful job creating hierarchy. You don't need the colors, is what I'm saying. You could take this whole page and turn to type black and it would be beautiful. The only thing I would suggest here is move these areas where you have 22, and then I would move that up. So you have cover story 22 instead of cover story, then 22, then the byline. See what I'm saying? So 10 would be next to features, and then below it would be. And these would be the, I see why you did that. Yeah. Yeah, okay, I see what you're doing. And it makes sense. It makes sense. Yep, okay, so I'm going to take that back, and I'm just going to say, I didn't notice that. That's a good job. That's a nice page. You should, let's just present that in black. Oh, one thing I wanted to say about the cover, I remember now. This is a no-no. You got some kind of weirdness here. You're using some kind of a typeface that has a built-in stroke, and you don't want to do that because it's a production nightmare, and your production people and your printers will hate you forever. This is set up great. Great headline here. The only problem here is that I'm a little bit confused as to what you want the viewer to see first. Okay, you've got obviously moving beyond. Okay, then you have read and understand and SOP training. Both are presented as such that they're demanding attention. So I'm not sure what one you want us to look at first. You see what I mean? Okay, this type is handled beautifully. Lovely spacing on your justified type. Except, I've noticed in a lot of your first paragraphs, this one here, you've got this weird space after your first sentence. You've got it again here. But that's all, there it is in that first paragraph, so that's weird. This is a widow right here. You don't want that. Oh, that's that, okay, so that's another widow right there. This would be considered a widow. You don't want to end any sentences on one, there's a widow, on one word, partial word, or a very short line. It just looks, like, look how it looks. You got all this strange white space over here. So good decision there. Excellent typography. I'm going to say on the contents page and the interior spread, but I'm just a little disappointed with the cover in terms of typographic hierarchy and trying to do stuff where you shouldn't, like with color, trying to add color where color isn't. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed having you in class. Good job. And I appreciate, you're a good student. Thank you very much. I appreciate you in class.